Rejection is only embarrassing if you secretly believe someone else was supposed to decide your value. And I just don't. That one shift changed my entire life. I genuinely think rejection is one of the most misunderstood experiences we have because people treat it like proof instead of information. Someone says no, doesn't text back, doesn't hire you, doesn't choose you, and suddenly you're holding a trial about your worth. Meanwhile, the other person was just making a decision based on their own preferences, timing, capacity, fears, or goals. Those are not the same thing. I used to think rejection was this giant red stamp that said, not enough. Now I hear it and think, interesting, wrong fit. That's such a different life to live. And I'm going to tell you something that sounds almost arrogant until you actually understand it. I have never wanted to be chosen by someone who had to be convinced. Why would I want reluctant love, hesitant respect, forced opportunities? If I have to negotiate someone into seeing my value, they're already disqualified from accessing me. I'm not interested. I think the healthiest people become incredibly difficult to reject because they refuse to make another person's opinion their identity. You can reject my application. You cannot reject my potential. You can reject a date. You cannot reject my future. You can reject a version of me you barely knew, but you do not have authority over my entire existence. See the difference? One is an event. The other is a story. Most people confuse the two. Psychologists actually talk about something called rejection sensitivity, where people begin expecting rejection everywhere, and then they interpret neutral situations as personal attacks. Once you know that, you start catching yourself. Maybe they're busy, maybe they chose someone else because they needed something different. Maybe they're emotionally unavailable. Why was I so eager to volunteer myself as the problem? That habit has to go. Also, can we stop pretending rejection only hurts because we wanted the thing? Half the time it hurts because our ego had already built an imaginary future around it. We weren't grieving reality, we were grieving a fantasy. There's a difference. I've had moments where I was upset over losing something that, if I'm brutally honest, I didn't even want that much. I just wanted to win. That realization humbled me. Now I ask myself, do I actually want this? Or do I just want to feel chosen? Those are two completely different questions. And the second one is dangerous because it makes you chase validation instead of alignment. The funniest thing about rejection is that time keeps exposing how little it meant. Think about all the things you cried over 5 years ago, the job, the person, the friendship, the opportunity. Imagine if every single one had worked out exactly the way you begged for. You probably wouldn't even be the woman you're becoming now. Rejection quietly redirects people more than success ever does. Success confirms, rejection refines. It forces you to ask better questions, build deeper confidence, and become someone whose self-respect isn't rented from other people. That's priceless. So now when something doesn't choose me, I don't immediately chase it. I pause, I get curious. Was this actually meant for me? Did I even like this? Or did I like the idea of being picked? Is this protecting me from something I can't see yet? Sometimes the answer is painful, sometimes it's obvious, but it's always more useful than spiraling into self-criticism. And here's my favorite part. When you genuinely adore yourself, rejection becomes inconvenient instead of devastating. You still feel disappointment. You're human, but your identity stays standing. You don't collapse because your foundation was never built on applause in the first place. You become impossible to keep down because your confidence has roots instead of decorations. So if life tells you no this week, smile a little. It's not a verdict, it's a filter. The wrong doors close quickly because your energy is too expensive to spend in rooms where you were never supposed to shrink just to fit inside. Love you no matter what.